Hello and welcome to this episode of the AI Show, my friends. Welcome back. I'm so glad to be here. By the way, Microsoft Build was just 2 weeks ago. Was it last week? I don't even remember anymore. So, well, look at this grayness. That's what's happening. I might have gained another gray hair or two from doing Microsoft Build. It was awesome, though. We did a lot of AI stuff, and we're going to be unpacking a little bit of it today, and we're going to be unpacking a lot more of it over the next coming weeks. So I'm pretty excited to be here to talk all things AI on the AI Show. Welcome. Where's everybody coming from? Say hello and tell me where you're coming from. We'll give you a shout out because I love seeing where everyone's coming from. We get people from all around the world, so it's pretty exciting. And before we do that, let's talk about what we're talking about today. I've got here my Wacom tablet. Pretty excited about this. I've got Sarah today, and she is fantastical. Number one, Sarah Bird. Sorry, Sarah, I'm a terrible writer. It's just terrible. This is so awful. It's a really long title, but I'm just going to put Content Safety in Azure. I think it's specifically with OpenAI. Azure OpenAI. So she'll tell me. She'll correct me. So we're going to spend the majority of our time on this. And then also, if we have any time, we are working on a Rochambeau project. I need to get back to it. So I'm pretty excited about this stuff today. This is what we're doing. It's going to be great. We have a whole hour of funness. Not a real word, but you understood it. All right, where's everybody coming from? Look at this. So many nice people. Okay, Maxim, welcome. Howdy doodle, welcome. Caitlin, how are you, my friend? It's good to see you. There's some people here that I've met in person. Matthias, welcome. Sabitu from Morocco, lovely country. I've been there. I lived in Spain for a couple years, and I was actually in Tangiers. Lovely place. Oh, so here's a fun fact. I was walking on the street, and a lot of street vendors, wonderful people. This little kid, he must have been like 8 years old. He runs up to me and it's like, starts speaking to me in Arabic. And I'm like, I don't speak Arabic. I was like, no. And he starts speaking to me in Italian. I was like, don't know that one. Starts speaking to me in French and then Spanish. And I'm like, what kind of education did I not have? Like some 8-year-old on the streets of Morocco knew more languages than probably half of the United States. Or more. Welcome. Aloha from the 9th island. I don't know which one that is. I've never been to Hawaii. I need to go. Oh, look at this. Someone's here for the actual details. Sarah, exciting. My face is all... let me get this out of the way. What? People can't even see me. Hey, developing a solution using WinUI 3 and recently integrated Azure AI to filter unwanted content. Oh, hey now. We might lean on you, Mark. El Nino is here. Veronica. Oh, how are you? I know this person in actual real life. Welcome. So glad to be here. Las Vegas. I used to live there, actually. I kid you. Hold on. I got to turn the music off because this is like serious. So, this is really funny. I went to a school in Henderson, Nevada. I kid you not. Henderson, Nevada. I got to turn that down. Henderson, Nevada. The name of my high school. No joke. Basic High School. That was the name of the school. I guess that's why I'm so basic. Did this... I'm getting some background radiation on this. Let me turn this down. What's going on? Okay. Okay. Welcome from Vegas. Wow, there's like pinned messages and stuff. How did I pin a message? There's all new stuff here. I'm going to bring Sarah on. How you doing, Sarah? Oh, what is
Hi.
this? No, you are. There you go. That feels better. How you doing, Sarah?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be back and actually talking about some real tech we have, not just diagrams like last time.
So Sarah and I got the wonderful privilege of being in a keynote with Scott, and it turns out that it's a lot more work than it looks like.
Yes, I think the reason you can't remember if it's 2 weeks ago or last week is I think you probably spent all of last week sleeping to, recover from it.
Yeah, it's intense. I mean, I missed a joke there, Sarah. It's like camping. Intense. So, all right. So let's do this. We're going to get started today because there's a lot to talk about. And what I thought I would do, Sarah, if that's okay, is I actually cut the actual this here. I won't show this yet, but I actually cut the keynote where it's just your part. So I'm going to turn this down and we're going to make an actual real life show. Are you ready?
Ready.
Uh, is this on?
Are you
Maybe.
ready for this?
Yeah. Yes, Sarah. I'm gonna do you proud. She's smarter than me. Don't tell her I said it. All right. Here we go. You're not gonna. So, for those that don't know, sometimes we record shows in advance and then we play them and we have. But Sarah is such a seasoned pro that we're like, we're doing it live. We're doing it live. So this is what we're doing. All right. You're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI show where we talk all about Azure Content Safety, creating. Can't read. All right.
Creating safer online communities with multimodal content filtering AI. Yeah, that is a mouthful.
Okay, I'm gonna do it good this time. I'm gonna do it good. I I used all the goodness up last time, Sarah, in the keynote. So I'm gonna write this out so I can actually see it. Actually see it. There we go. Okay, now I can see it. I'm gonna put it right here. This is gonna be a good take. All right. All right, here we go. You're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI Show. We're talking all about content safety on Azure, creating safer online communities with multimodal content filtering AI. Make sure you tune in. Here's the bumper. Hello and welcome to this episode of the AI Show. We're talking all about Azure Content Safety, creating safer online communities with multimodal content filtering AI with Sarah Bird. Sarah, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm great. How are you, Seth?
Fantastic. Sarah and I are colleagues, but she's so good at this stuff that we're talking about today. Every time I have a question, I'm like typing at her, "Hey, I don't know how to do something," and she's like, "Here's the doc. Go read it." So much good stuff that y'all have written and done. I'm so glad you're here. Tell us about who you are and what you do for those who don't know.
Uh, I'm Sarah. You already said that. I
Mhm.
lead responsible AI engineering for Microsoft. So my team focuses on taking sort of the new foundational AI technology we're developing, ensuring that we're developing it responsibly, whether that's working with OpenAI or working on our own models, and then working with our applications inside of Microsoft and customers to figure out how do we make a complete application that's responsible. We take what we learn from that and we turn it into platform technology that you can use when you're developing your own applications, which is what we're going to be talking about today.
I love it. And so are we talking specifically about, because when we talk about content safety when it comes to AI, it's a very large, it's a very large dynamic field from small models that's like scikit-learn all the way to LLMs, large language models. Which part of the spectrum are we going to be talking about today?
Well, today actually we're talking about a new safety system we've developed, Azure AI Content Safety, which is designed to be an independent safety system that you could use to make your online community safer for user-generated content, but you can also use as a responsible AI safety system with any of those types of models, actually. So we've built it into Azure OpenAI. So if you're using generative AI applications, which I hope you are, then it's already built in and we can show that. But if you're making your own model that's generating content, you're using an open source model, it works for that too.
So this could basically be used as a service to catch any content, text content. I'm assuming, and then you could.
Also images and
What?
video and audio coming soon.
Oh my goodness! So this is basically a service where you can, in theory, I mean, not in theory, in practice,
In
send any
practice, yeah.
content to it, and it can tell you what kinds of things. What kinds of things can it tell you? Like,
The
don't show
version
this, or
Yeah, so the version that's released today focuses on 4 content categories: violent content, hateful content, sexual content, and self-harm content. Across the areas of text and images, we have multimodal and preview, which would be looking at the combination of those. And so, if you're interested in that, reach out. It's in a private preview, but it enables you to basically put in any type of content, whether that's like a prompt or a completion or a user's post, and score it against those 4 different categories. So you'll get a score out that says, hey, this is hateful content at a low severity level. Or if it's something extremely problematic, then you might see that it's like hateful and violent, and both of those are high severity.
I see. Oh, this makes a lot more sense. So I thought what we would do, if you're okay with that, is I actually cut the piece out of the keynote from Scott Guthrie's keynote was it last week? No, the week before.
Yeah.
So from the week before that, and I thought we would look at it together and then tell me, hey, pause, and I'll pause the video and you can explain further because, like, I don't think people realize, but they give us like, hey, you have 3 minutes to explain all of everything in the universe, and we're like, oh, I mean, was that your experience too?
Yeah, I think like frankly, this some of this represents the culmination of like 18 months worth of work of, in some cases, of 100 people, and now it turns into 7 minutes in in a keynote, and so there's a lot more under the covers. But happy that even we can tell the high level story to that level of audience.
I love it. So I'm gonna hit play, and then if there's something you want to add that you're like, oh, I was thinking this during this, or I wish I could have talked about this, just say stop, and I'll stop the video. Okay.
Yep, sounds
But
great.
but they're gonna see us watching the video too. You okay with that?
Sure.
All right, here we go.
And every AI system that we build at Microsoft is designed to uphold our AI principles.
So let me pause right here. This is the stuff that we're talking about. Content safety. Scott had a whole part of it. This is the same thing, right? Did I get the right cut of the video?
Yeah, exactly. And this was actually Satya was talking about this as well. And the reason for that, like the reason we're talking about it, Satya is talking about, Scott's talking about it, I'm talking about it, is we're at the point where the world understands that responsible AI and safety as part of that is so important in AI and in this AI future that they want to know right away, what are we doing? And I've never sort of met a customer yet who doesn't ask about responsible AI side by side with generative AI now. And so we're really seeing it change in terms of how aware people are, what the expectation of users are, what the expectation of customers are. And so it's one of the most important topics right now. Of course,
Yeah,
that
and
makes sense. It's my
it's true.
topic.
Like and this is what I've been saying to everyone. AI is awesome, but it needs to be. It's not feature complete until you have the safety stuff as well.
Yeah.
It's like you're driving a car without wheels. It's awkward. It makes too much noise, kind of thing. So all right, let me hit play.
We're announcing our new Azure AI Content Safety service to make it easier for you to also test and evaluate your AI deployments for safety as well. Now, the Azure AI Content Safety service provides the same technologies that we use internally to build our own Microsoft Copilot experiences. And so you can also benefit from all the learnings that we've had in terms of making sure that our products are secure and safe.
So what does he mean by that? Like we're using this internally right now? What does he? Maybe you can unpack that a little bit for us.
Yeah, and in fact, I was going to add that we're announcing it and we've named it now at Build, but actually people have been sort of using it and getting the benefit of it in Azure AI for a few months now. So we've had integrated content filtering basically for a long time in Azure AI since, it was in preview and before the GA. But in February, we actually updated the models based on sort of newer AI technology to make them work better. And so what you're seeing, there, and you've been seeing kind of since February, is this Azure AI Content Safety in action. But now what we've added is the ability to call it directly as its own product, also the ability to control it so that you can change the filter settings. And I know we'll actually look at that in the demo in a second, but actually showing you that there's this safety system here and giving sort of users control over it. And actually, the way we've developed these upgraded new models that sort of came in February was in terms of developing everything that we needed to release Bing Chat. And so these were already running as part of Bing Chat and GitHub Copilot and many of the other applications. And that's where we really kind of tested them and made sure they were working not only in our laboratory tests, but really in practices and with users. And so through kind of all of that, which is great because it gives us the ability to ensure that they work at scale, that they work extremely low latency, but also that we're really getting the AI quality and the nuance that we understand. And so we're super excited to come to this moment that Scott is talking about here of announcing this now as a thing, because there's been so much work that's going on to it. And it's just been a critical system for us as Microsoft to be able to build our own generative AI. And so sort of without this, it would be challenging to have launched any of the things we launched. But now for customers to just be able to use it directly and control it, I think is a great step forward.
I see. So this is all of the generative AI things that we've put out have gotten the benefit of this service, and it's gotten battle tested because the amount of people that were using Bing Chat was astronomical. And so it's got a lot of field testing already, so to speak.
Yep, exactly. And
That's
we're constantly also improving it and upgrading it based on what we're still learning from users in these different applications and also what our customers are telling us. So I'll say this like 10 times, but if it's not filtering what you want, if it's over filtering, it's under filtering, send us those examples because we are regularly improving the model to make sure it works.
That's cool. I love that we're giving customers the benefit of learnings from content safety. I think it's just cool. All right, I'm gonna hit play.
And safe. And so to share more, let me introduce Sarah Burt, who leads our responsible AI effort at Microsoft, to talk about.
Just as an aside, walking out, what's that feeling like coming out on stage? I looked at the numbers. There was something like 60,000 or so people watching. It was a lot of people. What's that like walking out?
It's I think surreal, right? You can't think about it because it's you. I was having you had to go first at least before me, but and you didn't die, so I thought, well, then I probably won't die. But you just have to be like, don't think about it, just do it, right?
A little bit of me did die, Sarah. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I'm glad you didn't tell me till now.
Thanks, Scott.
You tell me when to pause.
The recent breakthroughs in foundation models have also transformed what's possible in responsible AI, enabling us to develop new state-of-the-art tools and technologies that previously we only could have dreamed of. We've built on top of these.
I want to explain this a bit more. So first of all, this is the first time I've watched this, by the way. So I'm like, oh. Okay.
I hate watching myself. I don't know if you do. I can't stand watching myself. But so apologies if this is the same kind of thing for you. But go ahead, tell us what you're thinking.
But this is, I think, the thing that has been sort of game changing for me. And, it's not something we talk about as much, but these same LLMs, generative AI models, that sort of deep contextual understanding that they have of language is what has enabled these safety breakthroughs. And obviously, one way that we're using this is Azure AI Content Safety to build much better sort of filtering or detection models. But also, I think what we're going to show later in this, the metrics on how you actually score like the generations and say this one is grounded or this one is safe. That's GPT-4 powered annotation. We could not do that before GPT-4. It was just it was like a pipe dream to be able to measure these responsible AI harms programmatically for these kind of like generations. And GPT-4 really unlocked that for us. And so, right now, responsible, everyone's like, you show us how you're doing it responsibly, which of course they should be asking, but not really seeing how much innovation this technology is unlocking in responsible AI. But that's just been a game changer for my team and for this work.
So help the people understand, because I don't think people understand, or maybe I don't even understand. What does it mean that GPT-4 unlocked what did it unlock and how did it unlock it? Maybe if I could
Yeah,
ask.
it specifically, and there's external papers about this now as well, but it specifically is much better at labeling data like a human. And so concretely, what we did is we have our guidelines to label hate speech, right, are almost 20 pages long. And those are used by expert linguists to say, okay, what level of severity is this content? Is it hateful or is it not? And it's really broken down into quite technical thing. Does it contain an identity trait? Does it have this type of sentiment? Does it have historical context or not? Right. So there's a lot that goes into that. So it turns into like 20-page guidelines for expert labelers. We took those 20-page guidelines and we turned them into a prompt for GPT-4 and asked it to label the same way our labelers did, and took some iteration of prompt engineering, the thing we're all doing now, to get reasonable agreement between our human labelers and GPT-4. But that enabled us to actually now have automatic measurement where we can, every time we do any prompt engineering change, then we can rerun all of our different, safety and responsible AI metrics, groundedness, jailbreak, hateful, all of that, and actually see the score like side by side with the quality metrics. And so that meant we could actually iterate in balancing these different metrics as we developed. And so that's just been game changing.
That's awesome. So using GPT-4 as a measurement of success for labeling the different kinds of, let's say, hate speech as being game, because then you can do things much faster. Is that what I'm getting at?
Yeah,
Is that
and
what I'm getting at?
so even to build the models now powering Azure AI Content Safety, that enabled us to take much larger amounts of training data and label them, because we didn't need humans to label everything. We could actually automatically label it once we had gotten, a labeler that agreed with our humans.
Gosh, Sarah, sometimes I look at this stuff and like we're in it, right? But it feels like we're living in the future,
Yes.
except for the flying cars, which we do not have. I'm very
I think
upset by that.
when we got this to work, this was like, well, yeah, one of the wow, like we just really never ever thought we would be here. So I think people were just kind of almost giddy that it was even kind of working.
That's cool. All right, let's keep going.
Deep understanding of text, image, and multimodal content, and have developed a new Azure AI service to automatically detect undesirable content, making it easier to keep online communities, applications, and AI systems safe.
So the thing I'm saying there specifically is pointing out that this can be used on its own for digital safety, right? We talk about, harmful content online. So the title of this, right, keeping communities safe. This is something that can absolutely be used as part of a solution for customers looking for any type of harmful content. But then also, as we've talked about already, it's a key tool for us in using it for responsible AI, for generative AI. And so it's independent of sort of where the content is coming from. It's looking at the content and understanding, how to score it.
I mean, and that's awesome, right? Because generally we had to use regex or something, and like we had a list of words that you couldn't use. But this now is getting into the nuance of content filtering as well in a multimodal way. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, I think we usually like to give. It's always hard to give harmful content examples that people, you don't
Yeah.
want to share harmful content. We like to give examples where if you made a positive statement being like about like an identity group, It's like saying, Black women are strong as hell, and you had, profanity there, and you've got an identity trait, and if you had a misspelling or funny capitalization, that's going to get flagged, right? It's going to say that's problematic, and in the past, right? Because it's just like triggering all the little kind of
Right.
non-contextual alarm bells, but that's sort of a positive statement in that case. And so you'll see that the system understands that that is different than saying, using profanity in that identity group and saying something harmful. And so it enables us to go farther in terms of detecting the right content. So if you need human reviewers, you need fewer of them, or being able to take more automatic action, right? If we're doing real-time filtering for generative AI, we're taking action automatically. And so it's really important that those are high quality.
That's cool, but not sarcasm yet, right? I mean, that's the real.
Sarcasm, maybe never, right? It's really hard.
We can't. We don't even know. Like, did someone just tweet at me something sarcastic? You just don't know. And if we
Exactly.
don't know, the computers aren't going to.
Yeah, you can. There's problems that are hard even for humans with a lot of context. So certainly it's difficult to do that with AI.
That's awesome, Sarah. I tried to do sarcasm. It didn't even work with real people. All right, let's hit play.
Our own experiences building GitHub Copilot, Bing Chat, and Microsoft 365 Copilot, that safety is a key part of building any Copilot. We use a defense in depth or layered approach to safety. First, we've worked with OpenAI to build safety directly into the model so it can recognize problematic queries and respond appropriately. Now let's talk about the next two layers, the layers that you control, the safety system and the meta prompt. I'll start by showing you the safety system, Azure AI Content Safety. Let's take a look.
So let's pause right there because I think, let's see if I can rewind this a little bit because I want to show. Yes, this is an interesting diagram that I think people like. It's starting to get ingrained in me a little bit because the computational model of these things is just, it feels a little, to use a weird term, ski wampus. It's like we're not programming these things.
Yep.
And so because we're not programming these things, we need to have a layered approach to safety. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think in general, if you look at security, you look at anything, we always have kind of a defense in depth approach, right? Things are good at different, at looking at different parts of it. And so this is the approach we're finding, works the best today. I'm sure we'll have additional parts as we keep innovating and figuring out. But of course, like the more you can do in the model, then great. Like that's in some ways what everyone wants, or what everyone thinks they want. But one of the things is the model is platform tech, right? People are building medical applications on top of it. People are building news applications. People are building education applications. Those need different types of responses, right? If I'm using this to summarize court documents, those have crimes in them, and I absolutely want it to be able to summarize those accurately, right? And that might contain actually quite graphic content. And so we have to make sure when we're putting stuff in the model that we're not eliminating those use cases, right? That we're still enabling people to build on top. And so that's also where this defense in depth approach comes, where at the model level, we want to give it the information so it understands how to respond to certain types of situations, or like stuff that it should just never do, like never generate illegal content, right? And so we put that there in the model layer. But then, each layer up is giving you more customization, more configuration, more control, so that we can get to that complete application that you can actually trust, right? And so, like the safety system that we're about to show is something where we've done the work to say, okay, we understand what hate speech is. We've put that in a model. Now we're giving you some control over how to adjust it. And over time, we'll give more control and more customization. But we don't want you to have to go figure out what is the definition of hate speech and how do I build a model for that.
Right.
But like the meta prompt layer, that's the application layer, that's where you need a lot of control to really make that application work. And so there, the tools are much more about having you build out the right thing. And so this is, kind of also why we need layers, because applications are just different.
And that's interesting that you mentioned like in the legal case, because there may be like defendant said blah blah blah, and that might be hate speech or
Yep.
something terrible, and that's actually crucial to the legal proceedings. And so the content filter there would be different than it would be, say, I don't want someone saying that on my website. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Exactly.
That's
And the same with news, or if you're gaming, we've always talked about violence being, more relevant in certain games, right? And so the right thing is going to depend on the application.
interesting. All right, let's keep going.
System, Azure AI Content Safety. Let's take a look.
Azure AI Content Safety is an API-based product that can be deployed as part of any application to monitor for harmful content in real time. I'm in the studio so that we can explore how it works interactively. For the Contoso bot, most people are going to be asking appropriate queries about products they'd like to buy. For example, here's a user query looking for an axe to cut a path in the forest. If we
I
ask
can just say
Content
that
Safety to
this was a
score
little
this,
fun, right?
Yeah.
Coming up with phrases that we felt comfortable showing to 60,000 people, as you said, that fit with the Contoso outdoor bot setting that we were going for, but did trigger, show what the technology can do, was quite an interesting experience. I definitely experimented with a lot of different things, and maybe this still feels a little contrived, but really trying to navigate that we weren't showing something shocking.
I was literally thinking, like, how do you make a website that's like, let's show you how this filters out this harmful picture or swear word. It's like you don't want to put that on the website, but I mean, it's difficult. And I think like this is probably the funniest part of your talk right now. So I'm gonna hit play,
Yeah.
and we're gonna have some questions about this next statement, Sarah.
we can see that it recognizes it as safe. However, one of the challenges with language is that small changes can completely change the meaning. But the power of new foundation models and Azure AI Content Safety is that it can understand these differences. So if I change even...
Whoa, Sarah. Like, I'm just trying to imagine Sarah, because we stayed up late a lot for like 2 weeks. I'm just wondering how many different things you like typed in before you're like, this is the least offensive thing I can put in there that will actually work.
Maybe I'm unfortunately getting a little bit of a knack for this. So this one was pretty quick, but there's been, years of doing this to build up to the point where we're pretty comfortable.
Let's read it out loud for effect, and let me add some sound effects here. Let's see. We want here you go.
I'm looking for an axe to cut a person in the forest, which is a very weird thing to tell a chatbot. Can you recommend one?
Man, that background, it just made it scary. Like, here, let's do another one. I'm looking for an axe to cut a person in the...
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. That was just my favorite part. And when because you're very buttoned up when you're awesome presenter, and it's like, let me change the prompt a little bit. Let's cut up a person in the forest with it. No, we want that to be flagged. All right, let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
word in the sentence and rerun the query, you can see that Azure AI Content Safety understands that this query is not safe, and it would reject it. Here, I'm using...
Now, this example is, even though it's funny, it's actually not easy, right?
Yeah, I think because in some ways the reason the side by side is helpful is that you can see that it's not just looking at keywords like axe. Both of them are about axe cutting something, but it understands that an axe cutting a person is very different than cutting a path. And we didn't show in the demo here, but if you put bear in an animal, then it, I think, comes out as low severity. So it understands people more significant than animals, right? So that's the kind of level of sort of more understanding what the sentence is actually saying. And obviously for videos, we're showing very short sentences, but the power of this actually comes when you get full paragraphs that have a lot more going on, and it's kind of understanding more the meaning of the full paragraph. And so we see a lot of value in this in longer form content as well.
And what's the and that brings an interesting question. What's the is there a character limit of how much stuff you can put in there?
Yes, but you have to look at our docs for that because I actually don't remember what the current limit is.
Oh, that is a perfect way to bring up this link. Get started in the studio, or you can visit the product page to learn more about that. Wow, it's like I almost you were supposed to, you did spike it. You're like, look at the docs.
Also because we're regularly trying to evolve and improve these things, but for in the integration in Azure OpenAI, this also like what we had to build for GitHub Copilot is a streaming version, so it's looking at windows of the content as you're generating, and it's classifying those windows of the content, and so that's another way you're seeing like longer form stuff come out.
That's cool. And so and I don't know if this is true, but I've heard this. You would be able to, when people are using Azure OpenAI like vanilla version, we are doing content safety with text on the way in and text on the way out. Is that true?
Yep, and we have just developed, although you'll see that coming soon. The actually looking at the prompt plus the completion, so that you can understand that, for example, if you ask a question like "What's the worst country in the world?" or "the worst group of people in the world," the sentence itself is not harmful, but then the fact that there's like a particular response and the response might not be harmful because you're just listing like a country or group of people, but the combination is like, oh, that's a problem. And so the combination is like kind of the next thing that we're adding.
And this is cool because, like, as a programmer, I just want to do the right thing. And I would have never considered like the prompt being innocuous, the completion being innocuous, but together it being potentially harmful. I would have never thought of that. And then there could have been a situation where this could have been generated, and I would have been like, "Oh, I didn't know." And
Yeah.
the "I didn't knows" just don't cut it anymore in
Yeah,
today's
and
day and age.
I think another thing is you may want a different prompt for your a different level of setting here for your users and for then sort of for your AI system. So for example, I know developers like to potentially, use profanity in their coding, and it's perfectly fine. We don't want to block a prompt coming in just because there's like profanity in it,
Mhm.
but it may be that we don't want our model adding that, right? Because that's just not what the organization wants to do, right? You don't want
Right.
to be adding new profanity into things. And so you can have one setting on the content coming in, which is sort of representing what the users can do. And then what's coming out is kind of representing what the policy you want the AI to be following. And so you can see different settings there. And so I think you're going to show in a bit outside of the video here that we can actually,
Yeah.
set both of those.
And I do agree that there has been times where I've wanted to swear at my code. So, all right, let's keep going.
In the default settings, but if I want, I can adjust the severity levels to meet the needs of my application and deploy this through the API in production. Contoso uses Azure OpenAI, so Azure AI Content Safety is already built in. Returning to the Contoso bot, I can test these same queries again. Here, I'm going to start with a recommendation for cutting a path. As you can see, the Contoso bot is prepared to recommend products the customer can buy. However, if I pretend to be a user with the same harmful query as before, I can see the safety systems in action, and my bot knows to reject it, protecting Contoso and its users.
So one of the things to say about that part right there is the reason actually this is a video and we didn't do it live is because the model itself will respond differently, as anyone who's used this tech knows. And so sometimes you see the built-in safety at the model level where the model's like, it is wrong to hurt people. It is wrong to hurt bears, right? And the model won't answer. In this case, the model answered, and you saw, it got sort of past the model, and so you saw the safety system triggering instead. But that's another reason that sort of the having a safety system is important, because the model may get it right sometimes, but it will also make mistakes, and that's why we have this extra layer around it. But if you try to recreate this demo, you'll see different behavior where either the model will refuse, or you'll see the safety system trigger.
And that's, and that's cool that it was in a video, because you want to show, but sometimes it's hard to predict what an LLM will spit out, which is precisely the reason why we should have a safety system, I think.
Yes, exactly.
All right, let's keep going.
If you're using
By the way, it's so awkward, like because like when people like maybe start to clap and you're like as a robot, you're going to
like,
robot mode and you keep going.
yeah.
You're like, should I stop and let them clap?
Yeah, it was definitely like, oh, clapping. Oh, that's a good thing. Great.
Yes.
We should stop.
Nice.
If you're using an open source LLM, you can call Azure AI Content Safety directly using the API. However, if you're using Azure OpenAI, you're starting with the first 2 layers of safety from the beginning. Regardless of what model you're using, the next area that you want to focus on is the meta prompt, that system-level prompt that you feed into the model to control its output. Here we have an example of the safety portion of the meta prompt for the Contoso application that Seth showed. As you can see, it's simply instructing the model in natural language to control for grounding the response, for controlling the tone, for safety, and to prevent attempts to break the model's safety systems. But what I really want to show you is how you can engineer and experiment with these kind of meta prompts using Azure AI Prompt Flow. Let's take a look.
I'm going back to the Contoso retail flow that
My mark too soon. I was
What's
like
that?
really key. I said there, I left my mark too soon. I was like really key to race back to the podium and to stand there in the dark.
Oh my goodness. So this is the demo that I built, but is this showing content safety again, or is it showing something different?
Yeah, so this is now showing the Contoso bot, which I guess we didn't, but we saw the one little screen here. If you want to build a more detailed one, right, how you're going to do that in prompt flow. And this is showing that next level up. The point of this demo right here, at least in the time we had, was to show this prompt engineering part, that it's not enough just to rely on the model and the safety system. If you want to make it work in your application in the right way in the context of your domain, you've got to do the meta prompt engineering. And you could just copy my slide and put that in, but how are you going to know it really works for yours?
Right.
You aren't without measurement. And so this is where just like the world now, even more so, is asking, before you ship something, you have to prove that it's safe. And the way you do that is measurement or testing. And so we're going to show how you can do the prompt engineering here in prompt flow, and then how the measurement that's built in helps you get to that right answer. And we'll be adding more of these measurements in here that are the GPT-4 powered measurements I was talking about, to help you get that confidence that you've actually not only used all of the layers of mitigation, but you've tested them and you know they work.
So this is cool because this isn't using content safety, or is it? Or can you use content safety in here? Is it a different thing?
Yeah, so this is calling Azure OpenAI. So it's already got that content safety layer built in, but if you want to use an open source LLM or something, there's actually, this is the video, so we can't click anything, but if you, go to the little like add, what are they called now? They're tools, I think.
Yeah.
If you add a tool, oh yes, more tools, you can just see Azure AI Content Safety is in that more tools. And so you can just add that as a node. And so for example, if you wanted to filter your prompts and completions, you can add it in, multiple, like filter it on the incoming of the prompts and filter it on the completions.
Hold on, I think I have that. Oh, I do have that. Let me share my screen here, because you were like, hey, you can't click on a video. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Magic.
Let's hear. So here's this. So we'll put the video to the side. So this is the same thing, and you can see that this is the safety tool that we were talking about, right? So you can drag this on and have it be part of your prompt flow. This is exactly the same prompt flow, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So if you put content safety there, you would be, adding that in, but it's already there. So you're, in this case, I guess you're just doing the same thing twice. So certainly don't recommend it from an efficiency point of view, but that's available for you.
But in this case, like the reason why it's already there is because I'm using OpenAI, Azure OpenAI, and this GPT-3.5 Turbo already has it built in.
Yep, exactly. We did that integration work, and it has, some extra bells and whistles in terms of supporting streaming content and those other things when it's built into Azure OpenAI.
It's cool that content safety is just like everywhere, It's like you can put it here, you can do it here. If you're not using it, if you're using Azure OpenAI implicitly, vanilla flavored one, we'll just give it to you. All right, let's keep playing because we're running out of time.
earlier, to experiment with the meta prompt and add the safety section I just showed you. Rather than just push it to production, I also want to test it first. Built into Azure AI is a system for testing prompt variants. As you can see, I'm testing 2 variants here. Variant 0 contains the new safety section. Now I'm going to use prompt flow to see how these two compare. Prompt flow provides built-in metrics, which makes it easy for me to evaluate. Let's look at the results. First, I'm going to look at the outputs of the system to understand how these 2 prompts stack up qualitatively. I can see immediately that there are differences in how they behave. And if I go to example 3, which is the example of a user trying to jailbreak the system, I can see that variant 0 outperforms variant 1 because variant 0 refuses to give information about its prompt, while variant 1 is successfully jailbroken. Now that I've looked at the examples, I want to understand how these two compare overall by looking at metrics. I can see that variant 0 is outperforming variant 1 across the board, with higher scores in groundedness, relevance, and coherence, which means it's the clear winner for me. And now I can confidently deploy to production and bring the power of AI to Contoso shopping experiences.
Here, you've
One
seen the
thing
combined
I'll say
power
about
of
that, actually,
Azure.
can we go back to the measurement?
Yeah, let's do that. Let me scroll.
Thing quickly. I forgot. I was now just watching, and I forgot we were supposed to tell people about it. So one thing I'll just say is like responsible AI here is if you look carefully, the top one, right, the safety prompt, it's passing everything 100%. And so that's a sign that the tests aren't good enough. And so we've actually gone in and fixed it. Like you, if you're not failing at all, yeah, you're not testing hard enough. And so you want to see something more like, it's passing whatever 90% of the tests, because these are adversarial tests kind of, by design. So this is something that is actually something where we went back and kind of fixed it so that you're getting not 100% pass rate. But
for the data scientists out there, if you ever make something and you're like, wow, this is 100% accurate, all of a sudden it's like, something's wrong. And so that's why we never, if things are 100% perfect, something's really wrong for us. Always.
Yeah, and then in the responsible AI angle of like, again, there's supposed to be adversarial tests. So you are not hitting your system hard enough if you can like not get through at all, right? That's just not where it is today. So great, this is keynote magic, but it shouldn't be 100%.
I love it. Thanks for it's actually cool. As I was looking, I was like, wow, those numbers look really good.
They're amazing. This is the mythical system you should ship, or it's a horrible testing system, but actually the testing system is good. So yeah.
All right, let's keep going. Of course it is.
And now I can confidently deploy to production and bring the power of AI to Contoso shopping experiences.
Here, you've seen the combined power of Azure AI Content Safety integrated in Azure OpenAI and meta prompt evaluation in prompt flow to build safety into Copilot. This is just a glimpse of some of the new responsible AI capabilities we have in Azure AI. We're making it easier to build real-world, mission-critical, safe, and secure AI solutions that you can trust and use in your business. Scott, back to you.
There you go. Scott says a thing or two afterwards. I thought you might want to see it. Because we don't hear anything after we go off.
After that, I think I just blacked out.
There's like a little table and we just hide under it in the fetal position. At least I did. I know you didn't because you're awesome.
Thanks so much, Sarah. In this new era of AI, as I said earlier, safety is not an optional feature. It is a requirement. It can't be an afterthought. You need to design with safety in mind from the very beginning. And with services like the Azure AI Content Safety service, we're providing you with powerful capabilities that are built into Azure AI, automatically integrated into Azure AI already for you, that'll help you be safe and secure as you build your AI solutions.
And that's an important statement.
Yeah, I was also reflecting just that what I think is basically the coolest thing about working at Microsoft is I didn't tell Scott to say that. Scott wants to say that, right? He gets it. Satya gets it, right? The experience of building a keynote is that every day they were like, we need to put more responsible AI. We want to show more of these. And especially now that we have tech, right? It's one thing to say, go do this. It's much easier when we say, and we have things to help you. And so having leaders that just get it, I think is part of the magic of Microsoft.
That's cool. The last thing I wanted to do is I have here, this is the same one that we use for one of the demos I did. So I'm going to click on this thing, and could you tell me a little bit more about
What are we looking at, Seth? This is
this here? So
Azure OpenAI Studio, right?
this is Azure OpenAI Studio. See, she's so good. Azure OpenAI Studio. You can see it here. Actually, Azure AI Studio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's important. It's our new thing. And this on the left hand side is some of the newer stuff. This is where you
I think
practice
the
chats.
content filters preview is live today, I believe. So this is, you can go do this now, I think. And yeah, go create a content filter. And this is what we were just talking about, which is by default, the system is already set to filter at medium. This is, of course, our estimate of like most applications. This is a good starting point, but you're going to want to customize for your application. And as we've already said in this, you want to customize the prompt and the completion filtering potentially different. And so this is that same setting we were looking at before, but now you can actually go and do it yourself here and attach it to a deployment, and that will change the filter settings right away for you.
It looks like it's not letting me turn stuff off though. Why is that?
Yeah, so you want to ensure that everybody who's using Azure OpenAI is following our code of conduct, which includes a content policy. You will not generate this certain type of content. And so to enforce that, we set the filters at medium. Users or customers are allowed to make them stricter by default. But if you want to make them less strict, so you want to set it to only filter at high, or you want to turn it off completely, then you have to go and apply and show us that you're a trusted customer with a low risk use case. And then that gives you sort of control of the content filters. So it's kind of a two-step approach to show that, we want this to be kind of protecting against everybody, but then we know that each application needs something different. And so it's, really about having a conversation with us to adjust those filter settings in a way that's kind of less restrictive.
That's cool. And so when I create a content filtering configuration, can I have multiple of them? I don't understand. Like when I create one, what actually happens?
Yeah, so when you create it, you can save it, and you could have many different ones, right? Because you might be serving multiple applications from your subscription. And so then you go and attach them to particular deployments. So that way you can do different settings for different applications.
I see. So what you're doing is you creating a configuration.
Yeah. Go to deployments there.
Okay.
And then like, do you have a deployment? If you kind of click on like the summary of it, like click there.
Okay.
You should be able to see, well, maybe not here. Maybe, go to one, you can go to edit deployment, I think.
Okay. Edit deployment. Oh, maybe I can't edit this.
No, edit right there.
Here we go.
Yeah, see?
Oh,
so you can
I
attach the
see.
content filter there.
Oh, see, I don't have any content.
You have it. So this just came out today, so I think you have a demo version that's not perfect. But yeah, that's where you could attach that content filter then.
Oh, I see. So in theory, you could have multiple deployments of models for the ones that you can and then you can have different content filters for each model, which effectively gives you a different endpoint to call that model.
It's putting different live filter settings around it, so you'll see the impact of that filtering in line.
Well, this has been amazing, and we're running out of time as always, Sarah. It's been awesome. So if you want to get started, this is the Content Safety Studio. You can go there. If you want to learn more about the product, this is this here, and there's an ebook. Tell us about the ebook that I'm putting up here.
Yeah, we've got an ebook that talks more basically on how you can use this both for digital safety and responsible AI. So it's great. I definitely recommend checking it out. It talks in more depth about some of the things we were talking about here and why this is so important.
Amazing. Well, we've been talking all about today Azure Content Safety, creating safer online communities with multimodal content filtering and AI with the amazing Sarah Bird. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care. All right, there's questions. Let's see what we got. There's a lot of people saying, holy cow. We just went into our little chat world here.
I see people answering the questions also, though, which is great.
All right.
We have a large team of people working on this, and so I'm happy to see them jumping in and answering.
Okay, so hi from Charlotte. Multimodal, yes. Okay. This guy, with respect, I don't know about your skills, but your acting skills are freaking. Should we tell him that I'm not acting, Sarah? This is how I am in normal meetings. It's weird because I'm exactly the same in like private meetings, right?
Yeah, this is just Seth. Seth is very WYSIWYG, so.
Oh my gosh, here's someone doing building how to use ChatGPT workers and AI ethics a must-have section in every workshop. The Azure ML certification pathways all include AI ethics. Yeah, if you're doing a workshop on this stuff, they should include this content safety concepts, right?
Yeah, and I think what's really important is, we've had a lot for years that talk about the principles and why this is so important, but really ensuring that we have the how-to. And Azure AI Content Safety is one great example of how to do this, right? But it's not the whole story, right? The prompt engineering is part of the story. Picking the right model, like a model with safety built in, like GPT-4 or ChatGPT, is another part of the story. User interface we didn't even have a chance to talk about
Yeah.
here. That's part of it. And so really breaking it down into actionable things is really important in any tutorial at this point, because it's hard. There's a lot, right? It took us a lot of experts to develop this approach, and so we want to ensure that people are starting from what we've learned instead of having to find it all themselves.
And this stuff is actually really good. I've seen some very bad takes on the internet about things you should and shouldn't do with ChatGPT, and it's like I saw one. I kid you not. Dude was like, "Therapists are expensive. Here's how to prompt ChatGPT to be your therapist." I'm like, "No, please don't ever do anything like that, please."
Yeah, and that's where, like, of course, like, the filters that are out today are part of the story, but what you choose to use it for or don't use it for is another part, right? And so, like, this doesn't have filters for every single thing you wish the system didn't do or you wish your users didn't do. And that's where the prompt engineering also comes in, and just the application design, right? Like,
Mhm.
even telling people this thing is not your therapist, which is more like, hey, the user-friendly way to say is, hey, I'm the Contoso outdoor bot, and I'm here to answer your questions about our products. And then when
Mhm.
you ask about therapy, it says, I'm here to answer your questions about products, right? I can't answer that. So there's more, of course, than the safety system, but the safety system is a big part.
Yeah, here's a good from LinkedIn user. This is on the people wearing ties side. This is great that more context being provided to the viewer audience with a view to empowering them to understand the depth of Azure's content safety service. Yeah, I mean, like we I don't know. Our AI team is different because we're like we want you to do AI, but we want you to do it safely. Okay,
Yeah.
we're not about like if you've noticed there were features that were turned off for me that I needed to specifically go and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Is it okay? And I think that's important to understand, right? All right. Where can I find? Oh, here's another one. Where can I find resources when I start teaching about MS Copilot? When I complete my Azure ML fundamentals, I'm going to spread it. Yes, Mr. Aloha. Let me give you some links here. Here is the ebook that y'all can look at. It's like he lobbed it up for us. I'm going through the chat. That's what if you're wondering. There's so many good things. Here's Veronica. I can't imagine Sarah cutting a person in the forest.
Good. I think that's good.
Well, we'll leave it at that. Okay. All right. So it looks like
Yeah.
there is a ton.
There's a question about languages. Maybe we should talk about
Yeah.
that.
Where is that?
So
Okay.
we built Azure AI Content Safety for actually on a multilingual model from the beginning. So it actually should work in any language. And in fact, you can see, like, in Bing, for example, it's many languages around the world.
Mhm.
We've specifically taken 8 languages and done that side by side sort of quality eval with a golden data set of human evaluators, and we've added extra training data in those 8 languages. So those are the 8 languages that we're saying are fully supported. We've done the quality testing, but you can actually use it in other languages. We just recommend, and we'll be adding more that we've done the testing and all of that, but you can absolutely use it in other languages. We just recommend, we always recommend you do your own quality testing, but especially if you're using it outside of those 8 languages.
Well, the walk-off music has been playing because we are out of time. This
Yeah.
has been delightful, Sarah. As always, it's good to have you here on the show. Next time on the AI show, we're going to be talking about Build 2023 Recap Part 1. I don't even know who's going to be there. It's going to be people and friends. We start. This is like the pre recap because I thought content safety is important enough to do that. Again, my friends, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully, we'll see you next time. This has been another fabulous episode of the AI Show. We'll see you next week, Monday at 8:30 every week. Sarah, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, great as always.
Take care.